IVM.
For better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part. Yeah. Or till I change my mind. That's what 19-year-old Rakhma Bai said more than 100 years ago. Welcome to the show, The Longest Constitution. And in the previous episode, we saw that love isn't always a joy celebration, but about hard decisions that we have to take ourselves. In today's episode, we are looking at a section in a law which doesn't let married people move out. And that's called the restitution of conjugal rights. When people marry, they aren't just marrying each other, but they also claim each other's body, mind, and soul. Conjugal rights, that's what the law calls it. And these are rights and privileges such as companionship and sex. That means cohabitation, living together and having sex with each other. But who I cohabit with and whether I want to continue with that habit is something that I should decide. And things change. People change. Circumstances change. Sita left Ram, didn't she? But that was an epic. What is equally epic is today's first story, which took place in 1885, of a young girl, Rakhma Bai, whose stepfather taught her stuff that little girls were not taught back then, like carpentry and maths. That bit I really liked. But he also did what was done to little girls back then, which is that at age 11, Rakhma Bai was married off to a man called Dadaji Bhikaji. And this fellow is like his name, very Dadaji-like. And as the years passed, Dadaji expected her to move in with him and his family. Rakhma Bai refused, and Dadaji was indignant, and he filed for the restitution of conjugal rights in the Bombay High Court in 1884. And I love Rakhma Bai because in what became a scandal, she decided to contest this in court. She stood unafraid in a trial box. This 19-year-old girl in a sari. And she said she would rather go to jail or pay the fine than live with a man whom she didn't love. And she went one step ahead. She penned a long letter to Queen Victoria, making an appeal from one woman to another. Not to say that Queen Victoria was a feminist by any way. She thought feminism was a mad and stupid idea. The British judge Piney, though, saw Rakhma Bai's point, and he ruled that sending a woman to her husband against her will was barbarous, cruel, and a revolting thing to do, especially since he may cohabit with her against her will. Again, that's like an old-fashioned expression of saying the word rape. Eventually, there was an out-of-court settlement, but what's exciting is what happened to Rakhma Bai after her defiance. Did she curl up and die? No! Rakhma Bai went on to become a doctor. She studied medicine in England at the London School of Medicine and became India's first woman physician. Woohoo! So much for that popular idea that marriage means settling down. Rakhma Bai settled herself up and created history in so many ways. And it just says, marriage is a kind of jail unless one has the freedom to love and not to be forced to cohabit. Sadly, though, when India became independent, the restitution of conjugal rights was made part of the legal structure governing Hindus under the Hindu Marriage Act. And Hindus, by the way, includes Jains, Sikhs, and Buddhists. That's a lot of people. So our lawmakers in 1955 drafted Section 9 of the Hindu Marriage Act, which gives the right to each other's wonderful company and wonderful body and protects it by allowing a spouse to move court to enforce the right. What Section 9 overlooks is that negotiations with the people we love are always ongoing and nothing is ever fixed and final. Like 16-year-old Sarita, who married Venkata Subbaiah in 1975. And after living for a few months together, she moved to Madras and she went on to become an actress and a successful one. But a few years later, her husband wakes up and wants her back. And here she is with this roaring career. And the husband files for the restitution of conjugal rights and wants her back in Tirupati while she's living in Madras. The first time Venkat filed the case, the lower court ruled in his favor, which meant that Sarita would have to pack her bags and return to him. But Sarita didn't pack her bags. She challenged the law. In the Andhra Pradesh High Court, Sarita said that Section 9 of the Act is violative of the fundamental rights of the Constitution because it offends the guarantee of life, personal liberty, and human dignity and decency. And this was the first time in modern India that a woman petitioned and said, hey, you can't force me to go back to my husband, and I have the force of the Constitution behind me, so get on with the program. And they did get on with the program. In 1983, Justice P. Chaudhary, a single judge bench of the Andhra Pradesh High Court, for the first time struck down the provision. He stated in his judgment that having sex is the freedom of choice. And forced sex, like all forced things, is a denial of joy. And there's nothing worse and monstrous than to subject a person to that. And that the restitution of conjugal rights by the force of law is obnoxious. But this was a High Court ruling. And in the following year, in 1984, we saw how Harvinder Kaur also challenged Section 9 in the Delhi High Court. Except that Justice Rohtagi did not agree with Justice Chaudhary. Justice Rohtagi of the Delhi High Court rejected Chaudhary's judgment and said, it is in the interest of the state that the marriage tie should remain stable and be maintained. The man who called Harvinder a liar also said that the stability of a marriage comes before the happiness of those in it. Stability, not happiness. I'm sorry, but are we talking about buildings here or people? But this idea was affirmed by the Supreme Court in the same year. In a Supreme Court ruling in Saroj Rani versus Sudarshan Kumar Chadha, the court ruled that Section 9 is constitutional and is an aid to the prevention of breakup of marriage. And just because one judge in the Andhra Pradesh High Court thought it should be struck down, doesn't mean it should be struck down. Strange. Except that freedom is an ongoing quest. It's like that perfect pair of jeans. Maybe it fit you yesterday, but doesn't today. Maybe the person who drove you crazy in love yesterday is driving you up the wall today. It's the wearer of the jeans and the person in a relationship who knows how good or how awful it feels to be in it. And we will continue to look for those clothes, those relationships, those people we feel comfortable with, happy with. In 2020, 2 law students filed a PIL appealing that Section 9 affects women disproportionately and apart from being anti-women, is also violative of the fundamental right to privacy. We would all agree that breaking up and making up, moving in and moving out is for the people in the relationship to decide, not a court and a judge. Till then, the quest for freedom continues, for better laws which allow us to be free and constitutional. In the next episode, we will look at another area which the light of the Constitution has not touched yet. About the kind of sex which doesn't take place in our bedrooms but elsewhere. We will talk about commercial sex and sex workers and why our lawmakers don't listen to those affected by the laws they make. More on that in the next episode. If you like this podcast, share it with your friends, colleagues, and family because freedom is for everyone. For now, I'm your host, Priya Mirza, signing off.